Right. So the first song I put up, Walter's Concerns, I described that as non-diatonic, which means the chords don't fit the natural chords that are built out of the diatonic scale, which is the scale that's got some space in it, the normal one that we hear all the time. 20 Million Reasons, on the other hand, the second song I put up, does. One of the things that comes up when you play diatonic chords is because there's this pattern, and when you make the chords, you just move up a spot. That means for every chord in the pattern, there's two other chords that share two of the three notes in those chords. Well, a specific type of chord, the triad, which is the most common type of chord, three notes in the chord. So, you know how I said the numbers? Playing in C again, like Walter's Concerns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the first chord has got 1, 3, and 5. Well, the third chord obviously has 3, where are we? 3, 5, 7. So the 3 and the 5 are the same notes, which is why the first chord, C, and the third chord, E minor, sound pretty nice, going backwards and forwards to each other, because you're only changing one note, the B to the C. There's a bunch of chords that are like that. In 20 Million Reasons, the song's not in C, as in C is not the main chord, the main note that I play. The main note is G, but it still follows that pattern of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It just starts on G instead, which is there. So now, the chords I mainly use at the start in the G and an E minor. Again, G and E minor have two notes in common, but in a different direction. In this particular case, E is the sixth note in the G scale. And if I play, so it has the numbers 6, 8, and 10 in it. And 8 and 10 are just another name for 1 and 3, because it's a pattern that continues. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. But we call that 8, 9, 10, so we remember which is which. So E minor has a E, G, and a B in it. And G has a G, B, and a D in it. Then I play a third chord that also shares two notes with G, but only one note with E minor, which is the B minor, which has a B, a D, and an F sharp in it. The third time through, I switch, or fourth time through, if I'm playing the B minor and the E, I switch and jump to a D. Now, D only has one note in common with the G. The fifth note, it's called the fifth chord, and it's often the most used chord next to the root chord, because they've got this pattern of setting each other up. It's satisfying. But this is where the title of this video, Three Little Pigs, comes into it. You know the storytelling rule where you establish a pattern and then you break the pattern? So first you make it familiar so people think they know where the story is going, and then you bring in the surprise. Three Little Pigs is a great example of it because everyone knows it, and because it's, fairy tales are, nursery rhymes and stuff like that. They're aimed for kids, so they're a simpler version of the more complex patterns we make up with larger stories. But all stories, including songs, film, media, video games, they follow the basic same concept where you set up the expectation and then you muck with it. If you muck with it too far, it breaks it and people don't enjoy it. So it has to be surprising to be fun, but not so surprising that it's confusing. Which is also why the more you get into something, the more complicated you like it to be. So why musicians like jazz and stuff, because their expectations get more complicated so you can do more complicated things with the stories you're telling them. Back to Three Little Pigs. The pig gets some straw, he builds the house, the wolf blows it over. The pig gets some sticks, he builds the house, the wolf blows it over. So here's the pattern. Pig's getting sticks, Builds his house and the wolf blows it over. Straw said, pigs getting sticks. Builds his house and the wolf blows it over. This pig gets bricks. The pig can't blow that over. The wolf can't blow that over. So I've changed the pattern from going to E and B minor to the D, but not so much that it's confusing, because the B minor and the D are another one of those two chords that have two notes in common. So B minor's got a B, a D, and an F sharp, and a D has got a D, an F sharp, and an A. So it's back to only being two notes apart, pretty close. I even play the F sharp in the bass in this particular thing with my thumb, which is, some people frown on that, but yeah, what are you going to do? Anyway, that kind of thing, thinking about setting up a pattern and then breaking it. And yeah, you can just use those natural chords and still end up doing quite a lot. Boop.